Hey, it's a Humble Collector here, and today's video we're taking a look at the 2-panel death card of Ludwig Konrad. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Starting at the top here, in loving memory of our dear son and brother Ludwig Konrad, an Obergefreiter in an infantry regiment, bearer of the Iron Cross Second Class, the Infantry Assault Badge, and the Wound Badges, who was killed on May 25th, 1943, at the age of 23. RIP. Now, I was able to find Ludwig's casualty record. I'll put that up on screen now. Ludwig was born on September 1st, 1920 in Obergefreiter, and he was a member of the 8th Company Grenadier Regiment 462. At least that's what his casualty card used to say. As you can see, somebody actually crossed that out and replaced it with the 8th Company of Grenadier Regiment 62. Now, Grenadier Regiment 62 is part of the 7th Infantry Division. And his cause of death listed here, it says that he was wounded by a mine, and the cause of his death was essentially having his left leg blown off, it looks like, as a result of stepping on that landmine. Now, what's interesting is we also see here that he was killed near Kokorevka, which is in Bryansk Oblast. Now, at the time, the 7th Infantry Division and several other units of the Wehrmacht were involved in Operation Zigeunerbaron, or Operation Gypsy Baron, which was a major anti-partisan operation that was taking place at the time. Now, what this operation consisted of was essentially an encirclement operation, which is where the units would encircle a very large area and essentially slowly move in until they condense the partisans into small pockets so they'd be easier to liquidate that way. Now, the Operation Gypsy Baron in question was fairly large, lasted from May to June of 1943, and according to the estimates from the Germans, they destroyed 207 camps, 2,930 combat positions, killed or captured 700 partisans, as well as 1,584 unspecified others, which obviously those others are probably civilians, we're assuming. They took 1,568 prisoners and 869 Red Army deserters. Additionally, 15,182 civilians were evacuated, which means they were displaced because the Germans throughout this operation burned every village they came across. So this was a pretty major operation, led to the death or capture of thousands of people, the displacement of over 15,000 civilians. And this isn't even like an incredibly large anti-partisan operation. There were significantly larger ones throughout the war. Now, interestingly enough, talking about the 7th Infantry Division, I actually have several other cards for members of the division. So I'm going to put some of those up on screen here. Josef Rauscher, who was an Unterofficer in Battery 7, Artillery Regiment 7, who was killed by a shrapnel wound to his left upper shoulder and arm in Medin, Russia on October 16th, 1941. Xavier Rausch, who was a Gefreiter in Company 4, Infantry Regiment 19, who died from a gunshot wound to the shoulder and shrapnel to the hip, also in Medin on October 19th, 1941. Jacob Schlecht, who was an Obergefreiter in Company 11 of Infantry Regiment 62, who was killed by shrapnel to the left thigh, right upper arm, and head on November 7th, 1941 in Voreya, Russia. Franz Konigbauer, a Gefreiter in Battery 4, Artillery Regiment 43, who died from pneumonia after receiving a femur wound in a hospital in Unesha on April 1st, 1942. And finally, Xavier Niederbruckner, who was an Unterofficer and Gruppenführer in Company 3, Grenadier Regiment 62, who was killed by a headshot in Arel on March 26, 1943. Now, moving to the bottom of the card here. If love could do miracles and tears could wake the dead, then you, our dear son, would not be covered by Russian earth. Then moving to the back side of the card here. Human salvation is close to your heart. You endured our pain and went into agony for us. So yeah, overall, pretty interesting card. We got more information out of this than we normally do. And I think that probably of the cards I've covered recently, this is one of the more significant ones because those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, we've gone over a lot of cards for soldiers that were killed by partisans. But, I think the general perception of World War II, at least in most of the public, is that when it comes to these anti-partisan or, kind of operations that were targeting civilians as well, that was mostly the SS that was involved. But in reality, the regular German army was very much complicit and assisting the SS in a lot of these operations, or in the case of Operation Gypsy Baron, were, some of the major participants. And, that's an important thing to remember is, even though we're talking about one particular individual, we're not condoning their actions or the actions of their unit. We're trying to record this so that we can kind of learn from the history, and hopefully nothing like this ever happens again. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you guys. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see you all again very soon.